not sufficiently clear for identification purposes means no Oswald with a smoking gun. If it didn't have Oswald with a smoking gun, the FBI didn't want the pictures.
The most famous film of the assassination is the Abraham Zapruder film showing the president being killed. One of the most amazing FBI documents is the one in which the Bureau refuses the film because it had no evidentiary value.
John Kennedy was obviously shot from the front. Everybody knows it. Virtually everybody in Dealey Plaza rushed to the grassy knoll where they heard the sounds.
They came from a fence between the book depository and the railroad track.
Lee Harvey Oswald posed with the weapons he used to kill President Kennedy and Officer Tippit.
The head of CBS, Bill Paley, had been involved with the CIA from the time that it was the OSS. He'd always been a loyalist to him. And CBS invested their own credibility in this at the very, very beginning. At the moment of the release of the report, they were in the middle of a 2-hour special backing the report before it had ever been released. They had produced it, they had it ready, they had the interviews done.
And they took him down to Dealey Plaza and they said, okay, Mr. Nix, where did the shots come from? Where did you hear the shots come from?
From a fence between the book depository and the railroad track.
Cut, cut, cut. Now, Mr. Nix, where did you hear the shots come from?
It came from a fence.
Cut, cut, cut. They finally pulled him aside, this man did, and pulled him aside and said, now, Mr. Nix, what did the Warren Commission say? Where did they say these shots came from?
From the book depository.
And they said, that's right, and that's what we want you to say. And I remember riding home with him. He was so upset. I mean, he would hit the driving wheel, the steering wheel, and say, why? I mean, they try and make me look like I'm insane. And I know that's where they came from. I know that's where the shots came from.
The one that killed him also seemed to be inconsistent, both in terms of size and location. 6 of the Dallas doctors, including the neurosurgeon who pronounced Kennedy dead, said the cerebellum was visible through the hole in the skull. But according to the autopsy, the wound was not at the bottom and back of his head, where the cerebellum is located. In fact, in this drawing, we see only a small entry wound at this location. The drawing, based on an autopsy photo of the back of Kennedy's head, was made public by Congress and seems inconsistent with this drawing showing the size and location of what critics point out looks like a large exit wound. The drawing was approved by Dr. McClellan, one of the attending physicians in Dallas.
There was, 3 or 4 real close together, and it was, must have been the first one that shot him, because that's when that was the time I took the picture, and during that time, after I took the picture, and the shots were still being fired, I decided I'd better get on the ground.
Here's another extreme close-up of that image done by Gary Mack and Jack White.
At best, confusing. Dr. Robert McClelland saw the wounds firsthand at Parkland Hospital in Dallas.
The wounds are consistent, I think, not with the bullet having been fired from the 6th floor of the depository building from behind the president, but from somewhere around the grassy knoll or the triple underpass, somewhere in the front. Seeing that Zapruder film and noting the way the president was thrown backward violently to the left, and having seen that wound, I thought to myself, there's no way that could have come from the 6th floor behind him.
And what of the president's other?
They claim that there was a small little wound here in the back of the head.
There was 3 or 4.
I had been panning shots through here so that I could get whatever was going to come down the street. And I saw that it was the President of the United States. And as I was...
Now, Gordon Arnold. Here's his story here. He claimed he was on leave, and he went to the parade to watch the president. He claims he was standing on the sidewalk between the fence and the wall, the grassy wall, with his camera filming the motorcade. He heard gunshots, reports, and he hit the dirt. Now also in the Jack White, Gary Mack close-ups of the Mormon photo. This is what they claim is Arnold here to back up his story.
Panning down this direction, just as I got to about this position, a shot come right past my left ear. And that meant it would have had to come from this direction.
At that time, I turned to Gail and said, that's it, hit the ground.
And now, I've also found an image on that, on some of the photos of the grassy knoll. Also, Senator Yarborough was driving with Vice President Johnson in the motorcade, and as their car, there were two cars back, as they my eye was tracked to the right, and I saw the man jump about 10 feet like an old-time tackle in football, land against the wall. He also thought he smelled gunpowder near the grassy knoll and yelled, "My God, they've shot the president." And and Arnold says he hit the dirt. Now here's a close-up I've found. Between the fence, the side steps is her hair. And this is the image I found. And it looks to me like Gordon Arnold hit the dust. Hit the dirt. And if what he says is true, and that's him there, or the other image, that alone would prove conspiracy. Well.
And we turned and hit the ground and covered our children. But when the third shot was fired, I thought it came from directly behind, towards the grassy knoll behind me. I based that primarily on the third shot, from what I saw of the side of the president's head coming off, and from the sound of the rifle, the report of the rifle.
I will always believe that the man that shot President Kennedy was standing somewhere in the picket fence area, and no one will ever convince me any differently.
It doesn't make sense to be hit from the rear and still have your face intact.
Well, I am very dead certain at least one shot, including the one that took the president's skull off, had to come from the right front. And I'll stand by that to my death, over my mother's grave.
I viewed the autopsy pictures. They had the frontal part of the cerebrum here and the skull out.
So when the picture was taken, you think they pulled the skin back up over this wound?
That's the only thing I can postulate, because the back of his head was gone. This was a huge hole. It was on the right. It was 9 to 10 centimeters across, and you could look right into the brain.
Crenshaw.
Large hole is at the front of the head.
This is something else. This is just almost a personal a question. Are you pretty comfortable today with the notion that someone was firing at President Kennedy somewhere from the front?
Yes.
Are you equally comfortable, or are you not comfortable with the notion that there is forgery of some sort in the official documents of this?
I feel there probably is. I certainly could not be, held down to saying exactly how that is, or even approximately how it is, perhaps. But I feel that there has been some kind of attempt to cover up what was going on.